Hello, everybody. I'm back again. No nets, just guerrilla filming here. We're going to shoot straight through. If I make any mistakes, you guys can write me in the comments and talk shit. Of course, I really don't give a damn. So, we're going to talk today about the young guys. We used to call them the YGs. And I think that Ventura probably responsible for the resurgence of new members, younger members, different style members, if you will. And well, did it create a controversy in the club? Not really in the club, and I'm going to get into that. But it sure raised hell in law enforcement. They just couldn't get their head around it or understand it. You have to understand, Georgie was the first one that came around, and he'd been coming around the club since he was probably 3 years old. He was three. I took him up to Bass Lake. His mom and I had gotten an argument, and she was trying to use George as a wedge, and I threw him over my bike, and I took him with me. We were gone. We rode all the way up to Bass Lake and back. He rode on my tank, and I think that that introduced him not only to the club lifestyle, but uh, introduced the members to him, and he became very popular. But I don't want any misconceptions. I want everybody to understand that in the 70s, that little George and I weren't the first father-son team in the Hells Angels. Back in the 70s, the president of Purdue was G.L. Cagle, and he went by G.L., and he had two sons, Jeff Cagle and Bud Cagle, and they both became members. And Jeff had a long career as Purdue president on and off. Good guy, spent a lot of time with him. So, just so there's no misunderstandings, or I'm not trying to represent that Georgie and I were the first ones to come around as a father and son. I remember I really admired Jeff and Bud, and their dad GL was he had a real aura about him. I remember old man John took me down there and introduced me to GL, and I was very very impressed with him. But anyways, maybe that's a different story. But the young guys in the Ventura Charter were there. What was there a controversy? No, the controversy is with the cops, and there was a lot of bad blood because these guys had been former street gang members, and I'm going to get into how that transition came about. But they did it to discredit Ventura, to create chaos, kind of just shit talking. But I'm going to go back now to the early '90s, and the phenomena of drive-by shootings was just getting going. It was going hot and heavy down in Los Angeles. The MA had stopped people from doing that, and we wanted to do the same thing up in Ventura. It was creating too much heat. Government was giving grants and whatnot. So what we did is we called a meeting at the Ventura Clubhouse. All the street gangs in Ventura, they weren't given the opportunity to decline. They were told, show up at the clubhouse, we got something to say to everybody. And for a lot of these guys, this was their first exposure to any type of structured life, perhaps. And a lot of the guys continue to communicate with us. And the interesting thing was Georgie knew all these guys pretty much. They'd all, Ventura was a small town. They'd all kind of hung out together. There was 4 or 5 different factions. And I think what opened the floodgates for new membership was I gave Georgie a FXRS for high school graduation. And never petitioned him to come around the club. He never petitioned me. But the next thing I know is Georgie's out there on the street. David Ortega comes to me and he goes, hey, little George is out front on a motorcycle. And he goes, what the hell's going on? And I said, I don't know. I haven't talked to him about it. And of course, we called him in, find out, like we do anybody, what his intentions were. I mean, everybody knew him already. And it just was the beginning of a whole new experience for me, for the Hells Angels in Ventura, and ultimately for the Hells Angels at large. And you know, his biggest supporter, which a lot of you know the history between me and Sonny Barger, may find it odd, but his biggest supporter was his uncle Sonny. You know, Sonny Barger got behind him. He said, "Hey, he's not 21, right?" And we're in an officers meeting. We said, "Yeah, he's 18." And he goes, "Does he have a fake ID that says he's 21?" And that was the rule. You either had to be 21 or you had to have an ID that said you were 21. Didn't matter whether you're 21 or not. And, some of the guys argued about that. His biggest opposition, believe it or not, was Johnny A. Johnny didn't want any minors coming around, being around. For what reason, I don't know. And, you know, Sonny asked in the meeting, does he have an ID? And he somehow had gotten an ID out of Idaho. He had an ID that said he was 21. I don't remember whose name it was in. I don't even know if it was his name. I never even looked at it with any scrutiny. I might have, just looked it over or whatever. I don't even remember. But I know Johnny was against him. Sonny was for him. Sonny was for new members coming in the club. I remember him telling Johnny A. He goes, "Well, I was 17 when I come around the club." So basically, he was telling them to stuff it. They were going back and forth. But Johnny A. Support shifted when he was spending the weekend in Ventura several years later. We got in a confrontation with some bully type guys, and the Ventura charter, the young guys just cleaned these guys plow. I mean, it was it was a sight to be seen. The newspapers the next day reported the Ventura Hells Angels attacked like a pack of vicious dogs, I think were the exact words. So that was new blood into the club coming. And, one by one, these former gang members come around. What they had to do was they had to drop their affiliation. We didn't petition anybody. The cops said we were going around petitioning people and buying people bikes. No, they came on their own bikes, on their own free will. They had to petition us. We didn't petition them. But one by one, they came around, made sure that they understood they had to leave their problems at the door. Were these guys different? Yeah, they dressed different. They listened to different kinds of music. Uh, with the help of David Ortega, they created a new style motorcycle that was actually copied by the producers of Sons of Anarchy. And I don't want anybody calling bullshit, because the Harley shop told me when they ordered the bikes for Sons of Anarchy, they came in there and they said, we want 12 Ventura style bikes. So whether you like it or not, and all these kids were great riders, and they turned out to be great builders. And part of the problem with the cops was there was a group of high school kids. They were actually in high school, and they started trying to copy the Hells Angels. They were called the Offit, and they ran around in a little group, and their uniform was all support gear. In fact, they were going to ban the support gear from high school. I went up, had a big beef with the head of the school district about it. I said that would be prejudicial. If you're going to ban the support shirts, you got to ban all shirts with any type of name on it, whether it's Chevy, Ford, whatever brand name. And we reached an accord. I asked the Offit kids not to wear their stuff to school, and that was the first and only time I had ever even talked to these guys. So the police tried to infer later to the community that they were working for me and the Hells Angels, which is bullshit. I think they cleaned up the clubhouse yard a couple of times before a party. All these new young guys were very committed. They all had long heart, man. These were really strong young guys. I trained them. Some of you know I'm a martial artist. I had a school many years on and off, and I trained these guys two times a week, private classes with just the young guys. And these guys all got pretty proficient. They got pretty tough. I know we rolled into Purdue one time to a party there, and there was a Southern California prospect charter that had disrespected the young guys in Sturgis, and the guys came to me and told me what was happening. I said, "Don't bring it here on the street of Sturgis. We'll deal with it when next time we run into them." And we ran into them, Purdue, and they just cleaned these guys' plow. I mean, it was incredible. I even had some older members complaining to me that they put it on these guys too hard. I just said, "Hey, boys will be boys." Now, in the late 90s, some of you remember they had that big Vicodin case in Ventura. And, we're the guys bringing in Vicodin, yeah, some of them were. There was a Air Force airman that went to school with all those guys that I think he stole 1 million Vicodin from one of the Air Force bases, and they were involved. But, you have to understand that people got indicted. It was overcharging people, and the indictment collapsed under its own weight. Actually, it was a 59 count indictment for me. It wound up paying $1,100 for a tax charge, and I think they got me for a conspiracy or something. It was one of those deals. Tony Serra, my lawyer, and Barry Tarlow, my lawyer, told me to go ahead and plead out. It'd be the smart thing to do. But after that case concluded, Julian Scheer wrote a book called Angels of Death. And in that book, he interviewed several cops, and they all had personal issues with the youngsters and personal issues with me as well. And what had happened was in the mid to late 90s, they had formed this new gang task force to investigate all these young guys. And they were just running amok in town. Anytime somebody would stay at a hotel, they would go there without a warrant, force the motel owners to let them in the room. They'd go through all the trash, confiscate all the trash, anything they could find in the room. And the hotel managers and owners got a hold of me and let me know what was going on. We hired a private investigator, and what we did basically was we wound up investigating the cops, if you will. And there had been a whole bunch of violations. We'd actually sent a couple of the girls down to the police bar, and we had all types of confidential information these guys were sharing with the girls. We had it all in these reports. And I took the report to the Ventura police. I went to the upper echelon, and I just said, "Hey, look, this is what's going on with your guys. You need to pull them in." And they were kind of shocked. They said, "What are you going to do with this report?" And I said, "We're going to do nothing with it. We expect you to do something with it. We want you to rein your guys." And it kind of created an understanding. Our relationship with the Ventura PD had kind of got off track a little bit. And what we did was said, "Hey, you keep your guys in line. We'll keep our guys in line." And, we had some recordings of these guys talking shit, and just really could have laid it on them in a courtroom. But, we decided not to go that route. But, if you really want to know and get some insight into how the Hells Angels, I don't care how the cops felt about us. Julian Scheer wrote that book. He took the information the cops, gave him and, kind of like talk shit about the young guys. If you get the book, Angels of Death, Julian Scheer, you can read about it yourself. He talks shit about me in it as well. Calls me the Al Capone of Ventura and whatnot. But if you really want to get some club insight into the young Ventura Hells Angels, there's a tape of Cisco Valderrama, president of Oakland, and Big Al, longtime respected member of Oakland, talking about the young Ventura Hells Angels. And these guys have nothing but long respect. So don't take my word for it. If you have an interest in it, it's on my Instagram. I think it's floating around other places. If you can't get it, I'll direct you to where. But it's probably 90 seconds of Cisco talking about how much heart these guys have. They are giving the Hells Angels a shot in the arm. So I don't want to hear no bullshit about everybody in the club was mad at the Ventura young guys. That's all horse shit. So, there may have been a couple of guys talking shit behind their backs, but I never, ever saw anybody confront these guys to their face, because they wouldn't, because they would have had to deal with the issue. So that's it for this week. Keep the insults coming. I get a kick out of them. And for you sincere guys writing positive stuff, I appreciate that as well. Somebody, well, more than somebody, several guys asked me to talk about the young guys, so that's what I did. You want to hear about somebody else? Thinking about maybe Little Joe and Cisco coming up in the future, but I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I didn't bore you. If I did, I don't know. Too bad. All right, talk to you later.